So, Nico, we come to another famous set of silks. These probably as famous as any that you've worn, really. Altior being the prime example. I know you've ridden Pim as well, but we know these for Altior. Patricia Pugh's silks. What a horse he was for you and Nicky.
He was an absolute superstar. He really was. I broke him in as a 3-year-old store with Corky, and so I was the first one to ride him. So,
wow, you must have a great connection when that happens.
Yeah. You definitely remember all of them, and from that batch of horses, he was the one that stands out. He was very boisterous and knew his own mind, and wasn't easy to be bullied anyway.
And the first time you wore these silks on Altior was at Market Raisin in a bumper. We spoke about bumpers early on, also won by a long way. What do you remember of that day?
It was fairly quick ground then. It was in May, and he had been working very well at home, and the Pughs actually came up to watch him, and I told them this was he's a pure athlete, and I'm really looking forward to riding him. And no one wanted to make the running, so I thought, he's very precocious, and let's go and see what he can do. So anyway, we made the running, and the next time I looked around, I was 14 lengths clear at the line. Not having him moved, really.
Yeah.
And I remember the horse in second, they were absolutely gutted, because they thought they had a really good one as well. So, that was a good day.
They've actually named a restaurant at Market Raisin after Altior, called the Altior Restaurant now. So it's probably the best horse they've ever had there. Let's move on. Novice hurdling. I think he made his novice hurdle debut at Chepstow.
Yeah, he was one who we kept in down the bumper route as a 4-year-old to 5 years, and Barry actually took over during those times, and he ran in the listed race at Newbury and came third behind Bouvardere, and I can't remember who won, but Bartis Hill.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So that was seriously good bumper. They all went on to win their Grade 1s and championship races, and then I took over when Barry took the JP job at Chepstow early season, and I couldn't really hold him. I can't think, and anyway he proceeded to romp home up the straight. We actually ran him fairly quickly in succession. Then he went to Ascot, and then he went to the opening meeting at Cheltenham, and then he went to Boxing Day. So he had 4 runs in a quick space of time, which is I think it would be fairly rare for us. But yeah.
Why do you think he did that? Why? Did he need experience?
I think the governor just thought he needed the experience, and he needed to learn to settle, and he needed to learn how to race properly, really. And I remember thinking after Boxing Day, maybe this horse could potentially want 2.5, because he was doing everything so good at the end.
Nico de Boinville had a nonchalant look over his shoulder, and he's going clear by 12 widening lengths. It will be Altior, a perfect 4 out of 4 over hurdles.
Yeah, then he went to Cheltenham for that Supreme, and I think it's turned out to be one of the best Supremes I've ever ridden in, and perhaps one of the best in previous years.
Bouvardere came third, I think, for the stable, didn't he?
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you can go back to 7th, 8th place, and even those have won Grade 1s. Yeah.
Here's the final flight, and it's Altior who's clear. A terrific leap when he needed it. Min can't pick up, he's in second place, and Altior is bounding clear up the hill, and it will take the Sky Bet Supreme Novices Hurdle in tremendous style. Altior for Nico de Boinville and Nicky Henderson.
So while you were riding him as a novice, as so many of Nicky's are, were you thinking he's going to be an even better chaser?
Yeah, I mean, the way he grew about a hand from his Supreme to when he came back after his summer break. So that was slightly taken out of our hands, but I actually schooled him after the Supreme, before he went away for his summer break, and I just, on the quiet, just nice and steady, and the way I let him loose over the open ditch, and I thought, oh God, this is going to be a proper chaser, and I think we had all sort of made up our minds by that stage.
He won so many races for you, I don't know really where to start or finish, so I'm going to ask you, what was your favourite victory wearing these silks aboard Altior? So many, I know, it's quite difficult.
It is tough. I think the fact that he managed to have a 19-win sequence, that was a phenomenal achievement in getting one over big bucks, I think.
Yeah.
And I actually got injured before his first 3 runs in novice chases, and Noel Feely took over, and he handled him incredibly well because he could be quite exuberant. And I think the Tingle Creek where Ruby was on earned a so.
Yeah, and it's a very muddy day.
Yeah,
Your face is covered with mud.
Yeah. And we were down at the start, and the heavens just absolutely open. And I just remember the rain dripping down my back protector, and thinking, "Oh God, this is miserable." And then Ruby went off at a heck of a clip, and the rain was soon forgotten. But that was a very special day. I really enjoyed that.
And it's going to be 10 out of 10 over fences for Altior, and another 10 out of 10 performance.
And I remember talking to you about Constitution Hill, and in the same breath, you mentioned that Altior is the only other horse that showed you so much speed as Constitution Hill. So although you thought he'd be maybe a 2.5 miler, he had a lot of speed to win, maybe over shorter. If there was a flat race over 1.5 miles, Nicky always said he'd win that.
He did, definitely in those early days as a novice hurdler and novice chaser. He had this sort of seemingly had this turbocharge to him, and even he showed it in his races. Once he jumped the last, it just seemed to kick in, and away he flew all the way through to the line. As he got older, he did start to race a bit more lazily, and but he always seemed to hit a bit of a flat spot just before you turned in. And if you got through that, and then he just seemed to find these extra few gears.
Wonderful horse.
You
could talk all day about
him,
and I don't want to bore everyone.
Racing up the hill, here's where Altior really kicks in the turbo, and it's going to be 19 for the record-breaking Altior in the celebration chase.